In today's video, I wanted to talk about a very exciting and interesting notice that I was able to make while we were doing the research in case of the politicians in the world. And there's one of the planets that really represents the perception of a person, how they treat the world, how they treat the society, how big their empathy towards people is, equal rights and ideas like this. And all of that could happen because of the Jupiter, that it could have a strong position, and mostly it should be a direct planet. So it means that the person is supposed to bring all of that to the table, do that kind of work, and at the same time behave in the same way. Very interesting observation that people are different, and you can see that the personality of somebody could be not too kind or not too nice, but at the same time the person could really want to do something good for others. In case of the natal charts of the politicians that we had, and we looked at a few of those, and you're going to see those in the video, you're going to see that interesting point. We're not going to be talking about the personality of people or anything. We're only going to be touching this idea of the person's perception and idea of justice, unity, humanity, their social realization, and basically the institutions, how they treat those, and do they really follow up on their own, or they just push that stuff on you. Firstly, let's take a look at the natal chart of Donald Trump. You can see his Jupiter over here in the left lower corner. In the second house, we have the data on him, so this time should be more or less correct. So his Jupiter is in Libra, but his Jupiter is retrograde. So what we can say about it? We can say that he could, from time to time, tell you the ideas of how you should behave. And always remember, we are just talking about astrology, not the idea that anything is real or water magic. This is just a birth chart of a person and how our ancestors in the ancient times analyzed the data about the person, their psychology and how they behave and their treatment and what could happen to those. So based on this, his Jupiter is in Libra and it's retrograde, even not touching the aspects. So it means that he tells from time to time how the society should look like, what kind of institutions should be, how the religious ideas, or the defense ministry should work, all of the above, like universities, education for people, for public, overall, how they should work like. But it changes from time to time because of the Libra, and at the same time, it's always retrograde. So it means he doesn't have to follow up on those. Mostly he brings this information to the table and personally could do differently, not to follow up on his own ideas. This is just the way it looks like in this chart. Is it really like a bad situation or not? It's for you to decide, but and often when you only control somebody and you give them a good perspective, if you're lucky enough to see that as a good perspective, he doesn't have to follow up on his own. Because if he tells some Ministry of Healthcare how they should take care of their patients and it appears to be good, then it's not a problem that he doesn't do it himself. But in some other cases and points, if he is trying to tell everyone that everything should be real, honest and true, and at the same time he could lie, I'm not even talking about the other parts of his map, because not far from it you can see a Neptune retrograde. So basically it means that he could even lie to himself from time to time. Well, just in this case, that's what it is. And he has trines going from Jupiter towards his Sun and Uranus, which are in conjunction at the same time on the north of his chart. They are united with his North Node. So basically, he and his Uranus are standing in the way of his karma way, where he's supposed to be, and it's in 10th house. And at the same time, those planets are standing in Gemini. So he's a Gemini, his Sun is in Gemini, and he's at the same time connected with, it's in conjunction with Uranus. That's why he could be treated as someone, a person of extravaganza, doing something crazy, because it's really united with his goals and visions for the world. But mostly it's talk, you know. Because of the Gemini, it's people who communicate a lot. They talk more than they do. So that's what you have in there. And then supposing in his south node there is like moon in there, but it also has sextile to his Jupiter. So you can see this is going to be a triangle with Jupiter retrograde. And his moon is in Sagittarius. So basically his subconscious mind, his relationship with his mother and his treatment of feminine energy, it's actually in the sextile with his Jupiter retrograde, but it's opposing to his goals and where he's supposed to go. All of that stands in his fourth house. So actually he is supposed to be moving from his fourth house to his 10th house, becoming popular as a person, becoming a brand. Well, if we check what's happening to him, it really is the case. And in his 10th house, it's supposed to be his visions, his goals, in the way he talks, united with Uranus. So he should be, and he must be creating something crazy, some situations that people should be worried about. Yeah, it's really part of him. Well, yeah, I think that's what we can say about this natal chart at this time. So basically, we have this retrograde planet. We have Jupiter retrograde in Libra. It's connected with his sun and the moon through the triangle. But don't be fast to judge. We can jump to another interesting person and take a look at other exciting natal charts if someone around him has any different kind of perception of life. Well, if you would be interested in learning more about his natal chart overall, what kind of person he is, what does he do, and some connections based on astrology, just send in a message, comment, and we'll know that you're interested in that. For now on, we just wanted to discuss only this part of this social planets in the charts of politician figures that are basically going to decide what's going to be happening in the world. Well, at least people would treat it this way. So next one, what we have, a coming possible candidate for presidency in the United States, is Kamala Harris. Her natal chart is also supposed to be clear. There's like information on the timing of her birth. And what we see here is that her Jupiter is also retrograde. So we have the same kind of behavior. The only difference is that in case of Donald Trump, his Jupiter was in Libra and her Jupiter is in Taurus. So it means that she promotes the ideas that everyone should live nice, perfect, and great and enjoy themselves. She's more concentrated on her own. So those social agendas are basically for other people. And for her, it's more important to do everything great for her own safety, for her own comfort. Well, she's also more concentrated on herself rather than other institutions or other people or public, based on astrology once again. Her goals are more grounded in case of society, and because it stands in her 12th house, we actually can't say whose ideas she's promoting. Based on her natal chart, it looks like in case of her Jupiter and overall social ideas, she's not the person making the calls. She's the one just trying to build up a better life for herself. And once again, we're talking about astrology here. So what do we have in case of aspects for her Jupiter? We have a square to Saturn, which is also retrograde, and it stands in the 9th house. So it means that her some kind of limitations and laws and rules, she mostly brings those to other people, not on herself. So basically you can see that what this means is the ideas of laws that she promotes, other people should follow those, not her. But at the same time, it doesn't work too nicely with her Jupiter retrograde when she wants to do more for herself. Maybe some of the laws are not too good for herself as well. Still, no matter what, it looks like she's going to be doing those. Also, we have a trine that goes to it goes to one planet, but it's in conjunction with two others. So we have this 3 planets, Venus, Uranus, and Pluto, all together in her 4th house. And it's a trine to her Jupiter. So it means that this is a positive connection that works all the time. So her like feminine energy and her like this is the same way as we saw with Donald Trump with Uranus, but it was with his sun and his visions and his ideas. And here we just have her body, her senses, her feminine energy together with some craziness and something not standard because of the Uranus. And at the same time, we have a Pluto, so something that burns and recreates and starts over, all of that energy combined from her home. And at the same time, all of those planets are in Virgo. And so that they're in Virgo, it means it's only according to small details and earning more money. And it's more in case of the material world, but at her home. So it means like in her family or in her country or in her state or in her community, the one she considers to be a close relatives. So all of that gives a positive energy towards her Jupiter and backwards at the same time. And it all is basically, you can see it's mostly connected to doing something nice for herself and telling others how it's supposed to be done at the same time. Another one of her aspects is a square to Mars. And Mars is in Leo, and it stands in her 3rd house. Basically, it means that she has some kind of connections or short trips. She goes somewhere and she's active physically in there. She's actively presented in there. Maybe she can even punch somebody in there. But it gives a square. It means that it sucks out her energy. It doesn't work too well for her Jupiter, or her Jupiter doesn't work too well for her Mars. So she has some kind of issues with that. We can go into lots of details, but mostly we can say that we have a few connections with her. Interesting part is that her Sun, this is just like one side step that I want to do, because her Sun and Mercury are so close that her Mercury is burnt. At the same time, they're in different signs. So Mercury is in Scorpio, so her tongue is supposed to be, because it's burned and it's in Scorpio, it's supposed to be not too clear for people around her. Maybe that's why she's supposed to be more promoted by somebody else rather than herself. So the way she talks should be too clear, and it must have lots of details in what she's saying. But at the same time, it should stink, like burn people around with what she's saying. It shouldn't be too nice. And the Sun at the same time is in Libra, so her goals are changing. She doesn't have like a clear vision of what she's going to do. This is like an interesting combination. And at the same time, we have another aspect of quiccons with her Sun and her Jupiter. So what it means is that her goals, which by the way stand in her 5th house, so it's the house of fun, entertainment, or having kids, stuff like this, like gambling, enjoying herself. So her goals and her speech are in there. She's about it. But it basically hardly connects to her Jupiter, like her perception of the world and her perception of institutions and how they should work. This is a kind of a not too clear picture of what you have, but mostly you have the person who, based on the natal chart again, right? This is just like this ancient data that we're using to analyze things, and it's up to you to see whether it has any connection to reality or not. So we have this kind of a person that is more into herself. Her like goals and perception of the society is hidden from us. We don't know who controls that. If we check like the planet, the one that controls the 12th house, it's Venus, and it's the one that is in conjunction with like 3 of her planets at the same time from her 4th house. We can say that somebody who is interested in small decisions, money making and something, gives a try to her Jupiter and pushes her forward with these ideas to put them on other people. Well, this is the thing that we can see from her chart. But at the same time, she's just pushing those ideas out of her 12th house. So she's more involved basically with her chart about herself, not about other people. Well, it's politicians, often that we are like checking the data, we rarely find politicians who have a direct Jupiter and trying to do the same way that they promote to people. Mostly those people, they just tell you what you're supposed to do, but they don't have to follow up themselves, they don't do it. Well, according to astrology, of course. Now, let's take a look at another interesting person. So that we are talking about Kamala Harris, let's discuss the current president of the United States, Joe Biden. So here we have his natal chart, and he has a Jupiter retrograde once again, just absolutely the same picture, but in Cancer. So it means his perception is more kind of taking care of other people and taking care of himself because it's retrograde. So he promotes these ideas to others, but he's interested in his self gains, what he can do from himself. It means like what society can do for me. It's not the times when, like the candidate said, don't think of what your country can do for you, think of what you can do for your country. This is the absolutely opposite. So it means like on every person that we're discussed right now, their perception is like this: think of what your country can do for you. And we have it in all of those. We have it in Biden, we have it in Harris, and we have it in Trump. So no, not much of a difference in this case, only in the way of what they want to gain from the society and institutions and everything that Jupiter represents. So here we have it in Cancer. And once again, just guys, always like I'm stressing this information because it's for somebody it's going to be a political topic and people discuss it. We are just talking about astrological data, and it's just interesting and insightful often to see how some of those connections and planets really represent what's happening in real life. There could be mistakes probably, but some things really do repeat themselves. And I even get confused myself. How is that even possible? But that's why I'm trying to do more research, and we're like researching it all the time. So Jupiter retrograde in Cancer in his 8th house. Very interesting position. What it means is, it means that somebody, like his moon could be like what his mother, his maternity, somebody, some figure, and from his 5th house, so maybe from his like kids or his family, his fun, and where he's enjoying himself, actually controls his Jupiter. And because of the 8th house, it's actually its house of either death or like support financially. So it might mean that somebody's giving him money to give that kind of Jupiter retrograde in Cancer to community. At the same time, the moon that's connected with it, it has a square with his Jupiter. So it's probably he may have even wanted to do something else, but it takes out the energy from him. So he's getting money to do something that he may not like personally, or he may not get more benefits from it. So this is the square. Also, we have trines from his Jupiter that are going to his sun sign, and his Venus, and if I'm not mistaken, also, yes, to his Mercury. So it's connected with all of his planets. So his Mercury, even though it's in conjunction with the Sun, but it's not burned. Venus can't burn, so no bad connection in there. But his Sun and his Venus and his Mercury, all of those are in Scorpio. And all of those are in his 12th house. So it means that some ideas, his goals, even his body, they're mostly hidden from us. And his ideas are somewhere where we can't see. So what he really wants to do, we don't know. And the public doesn't know. All of that gives trines to his Jupiter. So it means like that his hidden agenda, or some of his beliefs and goals where he's going towards, they give energy all the time to his ideas that he promotes to the public. And at the same time, he's getting from this public resources for his own benefit. And this is in case of astrology, what we can see from Joe Biden in case of his Jupiter. And he has no more aspects with this planet. So we can go into some other details researching it. But as well, if you will want to see more details on any of those people, we can take a look at that. And by the way, it doesn't mean like anything bad or good, because there's no such a thing in actually the world in astrology. As well, we can only see somebody who's moving towards something or moving backwards from it, and we can see somebody who promotes some ideas and does it himself, or they promote some ideas and don't do it themselves. So we have those yes or no clause actually with those natal charts. So now we have those 3 charts, but I have another. Because we have another person who wanted to be the president of the United States this time, but as I understand, he only got around like 2.something%, and it's Robert F. Kennedy. So here's his natal chart. This is surprising, because in case of Robert F. Kennedy, for the first time out of all of those other politicians, and by the way, many other politicians also have like Jupiter retrograde, and so it means like they only promote those ideas for other people, but they don't follow up themselves. in case of Robert F. Kennedy, we have a direct Jupiter. So even though it's in Capricorn, so it's more detailed one, a weak Jupiter, but he follows up on his agenda and his ideas. It means like his perception of the society, his perception of institutions and public and all the public institutions, he lives the same way, and he believes like those ideas, the one that he's promoting. Interesting. At the same time, for him, because of his South Node is in conjunction together with his moon and together with his Venus, they're all united there in in his second house. Yeah, only his Venus in his first house, so all of the rest are in his second house. So basically it's about like money. So his Jupiter, his moon, and his South Node are standing in his money. What it represents is that he was born in a wealthy family and he has enough resources and money, so he doesn't need those for his life. Well, it actually seems to be the case. But his sun, like his goals, his sun gives sextiles, and it means that it doesn't work all the time. It's something that he should be working on. But his sun is in 12th house, so it means that personally people kind of neglect him, don't see him, don't think he's like shining or whatever. This is, by the way, could be a difference, for example, like with Donald Trump, because his sun is like in 10th house, so everyone sees him as somebody either like wealthy or rich or like the king or something enormous. But in here, his sun is in 12th house, so we don't see that, and it's in Scorpio. So, but it has a sextile towards his Jupiter, so it means like his goals there, he's personally like could be, it's hard to see him. And at the same time, we can't clearly see like his goals. You need to deep dive, like into his ideas and what he's saying to understand about it, like what he really wants to do. But because of his Jupiter, even though it's in Capricorn, it means that he really wants everyone to have those details and basic needs that should be fulfilled. So it's like a positive outcome, a positive outlook. In case of somebody you would want to trust to do some job, well, I would personally trust this person out of all the rest that we discussed, based on those signs, based on those aspects. And I'm not talking about his personality, and I'm not touching up that, like you see, like the small ideas, for example, that he has a conjunction with Saturn of his sun in 11th house. So it means that in his community, he has a limits on himself, he has some kind of a good habits, and he has some good rules that he follows for his goals, so he follows up on those. So we're not going there, even though they're in Scorpio, so they could be a little hard and harsh. So other aspects that we have here are more interesting in Jupiter. We have Uranus in his third house, and it has a sextile, so it doesn't work all the time, but it could work. It's in Pisces, and it's in his third house, so it means that he could go somewhere strangely on some strange trips with strange cars. By the way, that's what he's doing, like driving with his car, with his dog. I remember some video of that. It's just funny for me that I remember this one, and I'm just looking at his chart and I see that Uranus retrograde in there, so he does some crazy stuff for his benefit and something strange, but it's in Pisces, so it's hard to evaluate what it is and why he's doing that. And because it's in third house, it means it's in his short form of connection and discussions with people, like small talks, or in his short trips, not like to other cities or other countries, but not nearby his place where he lives. So all of that could give sextiles to his Jupiter. Basically, it means like he goes on a hike in some strange vehicle and he enjoys himself, and it brings him more kind of a good vibe and energy towards understanding what he's supposed to do in case of society ideas. So that's what it is in there. Also, we have this Saturn, so it's connected with the Jupiter, and in case of sextile, so it doesn't mean like it's working all the time, but it could work. So his standards, the one that he promotes, like basically you can see like the exercises that he's doing, he's building up his body. It's in Scorpio, so that's why it could be more kind of aggressive in that way, but it also gives positive energy feedback and some kind of support towards his Jupiter, the direct one in Capricorn. Well, together with his subconscious mind, his moon, and together with his Venus, all in the same spot. It doesn't mean that it's very strong, because still his Jupiter it's not the strongest position because it's the Capricorn. But combined with people who don't even follow up on what they're doing, he at least does follow up. But like, he's trying to do small changes, but he follows up on those. Okay, that's what we can see from this natal chart. And one more thing, over here, yeah, we have another quicon with Neptune from his Jupiter and all of his stellium over here. And this one stands in his 8th house, in Leo at the same time. So basically, there are some issues like of him taking money from something shady. It's basically like impossible, yeah, or it's at least very and extremely hard. So if someone will promote some great, brilliant ideas for him and they will offer him money, it's probably going to be hard on him. He's not going to take that. But at the same time, if he has some like good idea and he will need to find like a shady way to get money for this idea from the 8th house, it's still not going to work as well, or it's going to be almost impossible, like too hard to do. Yeah, so that's what we can see from his natal chart. So he's the only one that has a Jupiter, like direct Jupiter, even though it's not the strongest positions. But when we move around through other people, they even don't have like a direct Jupiter at all. Well, this is the data that astrology gave us based on the natal charts of these fine people. We don't go into details whether somebody likes them or not. It's not. This video is not political. I don't really care about, in reality, if somebody becomes a president or not. And I'm not promoting Kennedy over here. I'm just saying that he has this Jupiter and it's direct. You can go directly yourself and you can study those natal charts on your own, like no problem. We've just been researching that for quite a long time and wanted to share those insights with you here.
Need to add one more aspect. Opposition of Jupiter and Pluto, which could suck his energy from relationship and his values. Also, it can make him push his ideas too hard, and people may not like it.
It seems to be interesting, and when we're going and researching politicians, it's not the first time that we saw politicians who have a Jupiter retrograde. Most of those are, if we're gonna go back into like Obama, we're gonna see he has a Jupiter retrograde as well, but we don't have his chart today. Well, by the way, if you want to see the Obama chart, send us a message over here so we could know, because we have like too many people we could discuss and too many things, and we can like check the countries and so much information that we can do based on astrology that could be of use for you. So yeah, and also, oh yeah, I can notice another person, because just before that, I'm not giving him here because maybe a few people could know about him. There was a President Lee Kuan Yew. He was the president of Singapore, and his Jupiter is direct as well, so like Robert Kennedy. So it means that he followed up on those ideas that he was promoting to the public, and his perception of the society and his perception of institutions and everything that you have, like the justice system. And when you go and try to research his history, and by the way, if you want to know more about him, also send us a message. That would be interesting, but maybe we'll just do a video about him no matter what, because he's an interesting person as well. So yeah, that's basically all that we want to discuss. Thank you all for watching and staying here. I don't know how long was the video. I hope it was insightful and interesting. If you have a desire to study your own natal chart and have some details, send us requests. We take those, and we can create your personal natal chart with everything that could be involved in your life, even like the synastry and connection with other people, and even countries or relocation. So we do all this job, and for now, if it's just like fun, we're gonna be posting up like lots of different videos, because in here we're enjoying the astrology, celebrating what we can learn from it, and trying to update our own skills and ideas, and hopefully you can also learn something insightful from this information. So thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.